The falsehood will tell you facts aren't factual actually. Falsehood will tell you intuition's faulty. The falsehood will tell you facts aren't factual actually. The falsehood will tell you intuition's faulty. The falsehood will tell you facts aren't factual actually. The falsehood will tell you intuition's faulty. The falsehood will tell you facts aren't factual actually. False.
Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men?
We are the reality distortion fielded. We are the reality distortion fielded.
who has donned an age of falsehood, who is coming back. Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men? The falsehood. The falsehood. The falsehood. The falsehood learned at a young age to cloud men's minds, to cloud people's minds, so they cannot see him. Who has donned the falsehood? Who has taken the opportunity when given the watch, given the role of presiding over all, to take the watch and sow havoc for their own greed and power? Informed a storm is coming, he didn't want to cause a panic. He didn't want. Who is this mysterious, charming figure? Is he charming? He's charming. He's definitely saying he's charming something. He's charming something. He's charming something. I think he's a real card. Who is the falsehood? Why, that's interesting. That's quite interesting, actually. New day rising. New day rising. Do we have... Oh, we have a strange sound issue. There we go. Much better. I think we're better off now. Okay, Sturley. How if, and if then, as which for, through about, around how there, then which for after, and such then, with if then such after, under such then forth, if under then thender then sender fend, and sonder sen fen wender when donder then. Ditto? I am settling. It is the mystery font. The hokum is actually fairly clear. I'm just a bit tired. I think I need a little more coffee. But the hokum has cleared out, and I'm not seeing open or myriad. If you've been with us lately here at the mystery font, 42, there have been what I would call distortions, visual distortions and apertures of torpors and turbulences that are semi-opaque and opaque. And some of them are clearly hokum or behave like hokum. Here in the font, they're often visible, as they are in the bandwidth of meaning. And as it is accessible at a nexus like of course, what represents the cranial cavity of the Statue of Liberty, how, in some sense, we imagine that that's where the Statue of Liberty is. And were there such imagination in locus, some kind of liaising point or identified place that we might place or locate or think of Liberty's imagination being, might it not be in what we would say is the head of the Statue of Liberty? And I was working with this idea and having some sense of vision about it, about how that represents what America knowing America might be, if we could all know that all of the lies and crimes are real, and also truth and reconciliation is possible. And if it's possible, how can we not? And we're only wasting time that will eventually find us doing the things as a species, as a humanity, and as Americans, and a global community. We will be processing, and through truth and reconciliation, we will be figuring something out. We will be understanding and looking at what happened and unpacking whiteness. And it's part of the project here that we learn and we restart and move through and complete the reconstruction. We break out of Jim Crow, we break out of the sinister neo-Nazi Ku Klux Klan stranglehold that MAGA's white grievance and corruption has on vulnerable people who have reasons to be angry that are not that are ultimately in all kinds of ways. Just not about the scapegoats who are aimed at. It's good to be really aware of scapegoating, because especially now, it is a danger factor. And because I think the sooner that we move to administering like triage of kind intervention and emergency health care, and like opening for like invitation for conversation or dialogue, or helping people who need help in ways that aren't available now. I think one of the worst things is that we have one or two ways in which help can be administered, and often they're coming through channels that have corruption or conditions that may or may not also foster or offer abuse in trade-off or as collateral damage just to have access, which is abominable. And we simply can build a better world. It's not utopia. We just spend the time to do it, because it sucks to build a road, but then we have a road. And if we don't, then we have eroded. And we don't have a road. And we don't have much motive. If we just think the load would have had a road if we'd wrote, and the motive had been inside of the votive that we would have lit somehow with a light that had noticed that someone needed light and had fostered that votive to have light and have insight that was stocked loaded. I think this seems like the moment for I mentioned that this is in fact live from Minneapolis, Minnesota, and it is Mystery Font 42. Oh, into it. Mystery Font 42 is in North Minneapolis, Minnesota, in the Midwest, in the United States, in North America, on planet Earth. And what happens here tomorrow might look like this. No, it's not that one. What am I trying to find? What am I trying to find? What am I after all, after now, after this portal with the stained panes and these diamonds, this is one of the portals in the mystery font. What would you share if the portal opens and you're there? Do you have a question we need to hear posed? Do you have an answer to put there? Do you have a dance that needs the time and place? Do you have anything that you would like to share? If you would like to share something at the Mystery Font, then please do dare. And mysteryfont42@gmail.com is a way to reach out, and more ways will become apparent. But this is the Mystery Font, and each time, I hope eventually, there can be at least something of other artists besides myself, if not a plentiful array of other artists. And that could involve people stopping by for small interviews or brief sharing of a new song, coming by with your company. Maybe you're closing a show and there's one scene you would like to get recorded. And you find a space outside here or within our first floor open theater in the Round. And using this like a house, essentially, this small commercial building, this old dentist office from 1940, with these bizarre, well, unique portals and chambers, that you might utilize this unique space, and whatever skills I might or other artists might offer, myself, such as items like the use of glow as seen here, or sound design or anything I might do, but also I can simply offer space and allow you to breathe life into what you do here and share that through this share you, and foster the Mystery Font 42. Interesting this. Oh yes, the falsehood said this. Or was this Donald Trump? I can't remember sometimes which of these he has said are lies, which I assume means they were in fact planted words or false interviews or something. What does fake news mean? In any case, Mystery Font 42 it's in an everyone space. Fremont is free humanity, is free person. Fremont is you. And the Mystery Font 42 is open to anyone to offer something respectfully that might participate here. And we've recorded a few artists. I'm still getting to a couple of artists who are in scheduling, and I'm moving slowly through the process. If I haven't been in contact with you yet, I will. And if you are ready to what I'm doing right now is stepping into the streaming, the regular streaming practice so that if you would like to stop by, essentially in the format of a video podcast, this soundstage is ready for a brief interview or a brief performance. Or in the multiple rooms here, there are spaces to build a larger or more complex project over more time, or to develop and have here to foster when you have the time. There are some options, potentially. But at any rate, at its most basic level, other than the idea of being able to build more substantial, long-lasting, developing works, it starts with just a single visit, or a single maybe sharing of something you'd like to offer virtually to be part of the Mystery Font. And hopefully people will, again, gather more than just, say, one artist or group at a time. In the multiple rooms, we can, when health issues and COVID and such things allow, we have options here in this unique space for unique small events and audience and performers inside and outside in various arrangements, and utilizing the different portals and chambers and this semicircle panopticon that just happens to occur here in the waiting room, the reflecting pool of the Mystery Font. At any rate, this is the Mystery Font. You're watching light drawing resonating through here into the reflecting pool in the waiting room of the imagination of democracy at the intersection of free humanity and the meaning of life in North Minneapolis, Minnesota. And I think not like that. That makes more sense to me. I think that makes a bit more sense, yes? Why not? This might be a little warm on the, a little hot on the mic. Let's see. Welcome to the Mystery Font 42. I am Tim Cameron, your host. And if you were here with us yesterday, goodness gracious, things have calmed down just a bit. Whew. And I do have a chair here now. Somehow yesterday I was not suspended, but I was experiencing some of the actual physical and inertial dampening kinds of turbulences that happen unique to a place like the Mystery Font. And this is, as I say, it's just things have kind of gentled a bit. And now rising, new day rising, new day rising. New day rising, new day rising. New day rising, 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 new day rising. New day rising, 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 new day rising. That was maybe not the most, well, I hope it was in some way faithful. That was some kind of version of New Day Rising, written by Bob Mould, I believe, and definitely sung by Bob Mould with Husker Du. And I've seen that performed live a few times by them. And it's been a while. Incredibly powerful band, powerful music. Bob Mould is amazing. Grant Hart is no longer around, of course, I believe. And Greg Norton is around has been, if not still is, a successful restaurateur and seems like a decent individual. This is the mystery font. The Imaginarium. I don't think is that the word? Maybe that's the word. This is one locus. There's a nexus. I'm not sure how I found it. I just am here. And while I have the opportunity to foster it and notice it, I'm noticing that in this unique space and at this moment, that there are these curious portals in this American flag wrapped chamber. And over the decades, in nearing a century now, since this place was built, wow. In 2040, it will be 100 years old, this place. And over the decades, there have been what look like reception windows and windows for like administration of medicine, or like delivering mail, or presenting puppet shows, or delivering the news. Maybe if the news were delivered live in person through a portal. Or if the place in fact were liquid plastic, material, yarn, fabric, and this flowing wrap of red and white fabric around which is, in this like this cubic magic, this square tube we're not trapped in, but not collapsed in, but vessel conduit strapped in, and that like this wood and plastic fashion is that there is craft such that it maps in, and these frames that look like they might be, a door frame or a picture frame, or just a portal, an opening in a wall to walk through. They collapse and open. They are, in different ways, just ope. And it's not the only way that we can travel here, but it's come to that. In fact, that's what it is, and that's what it does do. And there is a jump rope here. There is a jump rope too, and a jump rope means that when I touch it, I can get to you if you're here in another galaxy, in this part of this space. That a jump rope can jump anywhere, and I have to find jump rope in case I was supposed to find jump rope 2 or 3 weeks hence. Oh, good golly, gollikers. I think that's suspense. I don't want to leave jump rope in the lurch. That's not how we treat a secular church. I mean, not like holy, but it's sacred. It's special, like each of our vessels for our practices that we uh, nestle. All right, coffee and whatever's going on here, I'm going to just be all right with that. In just a moment, there's more. You're hearing the sounds of and the sounds of coffee time at the Mystery Font. So, the falsehood does often come to mind here. I think partly because in dealing with post-traumatic stress disorder and that being related to being on the autism spectrum, and so there being trauma for, in part, based on a lack of diagnosis and not stuff happening, people not tracking. That the autist is an altruist in this case, and that I really am trying, and I'm flawed, but I'm trying to do it all, or well, there are gaps between the real and vibrant and in all kinds of ways productive life of people, I think, who are not easily apprehendable as, quote, useful, end quote, to holistic society and the terror spectrum of capitalism as we now capitalize upon human need and human frailty, which means we go for easy targets and offend something that doesn't defend itself as easily in the same way. We're not letting some sequences play out, and it's not good for us. I talked with an interesting individual, a genius who has designed, theorized about, intuited, about designing spaces for people with autism, actually. And I mentioned the thought that a microphone for a quiet space like he has in his studio in Minneapolis might need to be very delicate and might be so delicate that you couldn't bang a nail in like you can with a Shure stage mic, maybe, but, well, like an SM58. And so you might, if you didn't know how to treat that microphone, you might destroy an incredibly valuable, if you treat a microphone made to record things that are incredibly quiet, very accurately or whatever. And my thought was it might need to be very delicate, or there might be things about it that just make it, to perfect that, it's not as easily portable or whatever. And it's not really that huge a leap of intellectual deduction. It's just my my father, who's very smart, but with whom there's been like gaps of between us understanding sort of why can we sometimes meet and level with one another and understand and be on the same page, and why sometimes are we not willing to have the same conversation, or is it difficult to be understood or understand? And I think in my case, it feels like as a person on the spectrum I've been in my life, and this is something that's not about my father or anyone in particular, it's the society we're in. I think it's woven into society that people who are other than holistic culture are targeted in terms of, there's a hazing that is about, that's not the shape, that's not the way, that's not the behavior, don't shake your leg like that, that's weird, don't click like that, don't rock like that, don't sing, stop moving, look at me in the eye, shh, be quiet, be quiet. It's, there's a bandwidth there that there's a lot going on there in terms of kind of constriction and physiological stuff. Really, oh my God, there's really an allegory. Oh wow. There's kind of a sad allegory between kids in school and like NASA and like long space voyages and suspended animation and things like that. Like how do we make it through? We've got to get our kids ready to sit all the time and develop weird issues with their legs and bodies because they're sitting all the time. Got to get people used to sitting still and not moving. If we're moving, we're feeling like we're moving forward, like procession is happening, which is really healthy. We shouldn't be moving. We should be sitting still, kind of being farmed, but not kind of. And I say sitting still. However, something that I have yet to really foster connection with here, as this is, I guess, kind of this is this episode. I'm having an episode. I'm having an episode. I'm having an episode right now. This is what it feels like to have an episode of the Mystery Font 42 Open to It program. This exists as a podcast and as a stream. I think it will exist, on YouTube and again, may as a podcast. I think it may be in some ways legible in audio, but I like things that have flaws and interesting uses and gaps and such. And I just got a message that's interesting. I'm always glad when people reach out, and especially when people have the kindness to reach out to make communications that are difficult to repair, and it's difficult to ask for repair or to make the first move, as it were, especially if one makes a mistake or if there's difficult history. And I really am glad that we're getting better. I think we're getting better. Well, there's been a lot of significant work to get better at securing personal boundaries, that consent and self-regulation, like tuning into what do we really need, how do we really function as people well and treat ourselves well, not be taken by employers or systems that can be organized differently or by different people. We can do things better. It's not about utopia, it's really just about realizing where there are choices being made that are destructive, and like what's generational trauma, and a battle we can sort of take on in terms of saying humanity deserves better. And I think that it's thoughtful. I did not expect to receive a message that would pop up in front of my face where I would just be passages in it. And then it happened and I'm fit with it, but it does not quite just feel what I think of as fit, but here it's writ. Okay. And in that all I said. Let's see here. Well, anyway, I'm just awash in, because to some extent, work that I did to ask for things was in some way met with some amount of care that, I don't know that we can sometimes maybe it's in finding out where and who is ready or willing to do or able to do, capable of understanding repair. That we understand who and where the relationships are in a way that we have within families and communities, and not that people are along for the ride, but we're not always aware of what's generating the thing that's holding stuff together, or that makes it feel warm or stable or active, or the thing that keeps this person around or makes everybody feel safe to be around this other exciting energy brought by this thing or that activity. How do we come together, and how does that multiplicity in space together work? Because that's really that's really part of the magic. Um, as someone who's been pretty isolated in the last few years, as a lot of people have, of course, but um, pretty like solitary wise, not all the time, but and finding that I also, I think, need it in some sense for healing in terms of PTSD, and also in terms of focus to dial in. That for me, dialing into seeing like where is there a reality distortion that is being promulgated, and that if I can like say, oh wait, why is that? We always talk about this question this way, but couldn't it also be talked about in terms of this whole thing? Couldn't all of that be the question? Like if I can find a new way to, because within an optics soundbite culture, and one that's still, that isn't changing its codec. We're not changing our codec in terms of why the media is doing what they're doing. The people are still kind of, where everybody's kind of doing their job, mostly, pretty much. And there's not, there's still a thick, soupy, surreal, truly surreal amount of, anyway, so next, gosh, that Trump, what a weirdo. Like, just deflating, oh, it's not really a big deal. As if we're not looking at someone trying to outdo Hitler's death totals. I think that's what we're looking at. And we have to reckon with that Trump and the people that are working with him, Stephen Miller, Steve Bannon, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Carrie Lake, these folks, and those trying to join or be there in his stead. In the Republican Party, I mean, Sarah Huckabee Sanders and Ron DeSantis, these are just straight up Confederate politicians. I mean, Ron DeSantis is terrorizing people in Florida. He's terrorizing Americans. It's unforgivable. It's unbelievable. And the same is true of Sarah Huckabee Sanders. The abominable, crushing, terroristic malice. It is intentional, terroristic, punitive, coercive, stop me because you can't violence for Sarah Huckabee Sanders to fail to release someone who is clearly wrongly convicted and in jail, in prison, in violation of his human rights. And she has him in prison still because he's black. There's no other way around it. She is a Ku Klux Klan thug. She is a Nazi. These people, the Heritage Foundation, Project 2025, Agenda 47, America, we have to defeat the Nazis. They are here, and we need to tell them no. We need to tell the Nazis no, that we require you get health care and help, and that you give up the project of fomenting harm and violence and genocide again, because we won't have it. it's clear that we need to talk to Elon Musk and Donald Trump and a few other people who are either allegiant to Nazi ideas or willing to work with Nazis to have coercive power. And it's not a game, it's not a movie, it's damage danger. We're dealing with dark triad predators. And these are folks who are not capable of being in the positions that they hold. Or in the case of Trump, in the position that he held, he broke the oath that he swore to, as far as I can tell. I guess this is kind of a behind the scenes, because I think it's probably obvious. Donald Trump is not the falsehood, but I think Donald Trump is the falsehood. I think it's clear that he bears malice, that he has possibly no empathy or maybe no conscience, or relishes dismantling it because he was taught to. It's sad. But I think we have to take responsibility for making him and embracing and fomenting his violence as much as he has terrorized us. It's true that he instituted an abusive relationship with us 8 years ago, but we can wake up. We need to realize, though, that, it would be a predator that would tell us that woke is bad. Woke is how we can tell if someone is eating your leg or you're just dreaming sad. I don't know. All right. I think, a bit of hydration, however much hydration really there is capacity as a singer for, or vocalist, talker with coffee. It's the case that this piece, this mystery font searches. It will not always be the same. I'm not sure exactly what it is. But frequently, from time to time, we will note that we are trying to figure it out. And understanding and mapping what space and time is, and how material and mapping of understanding and thought is fonted. And fun is how we know we're onto something. Who what? Oh, right. Who has donned the falsehood? Who has donned like a cowl and donned an age of? Who has donned the falsehood?
And having a good relationship with Russia is a good thing, not a bad thing.
You've said you have no investments in Russia, but do you owe any money to Russian individuals and institutions?
No.
None.
The primary thing I did with Russia, I bought a house in Palm Beach at a bankruptcy. It was a bankrupt, person. I bought it from the banks. I bought it for about $40 million. I sold it for $100 million to a Russian. That was probably 5 years ago, and that was primarily it.
You partnered
Now,
with
will I
Russians on the
sell?
Soho Grand. the
Will I
Toronto-
sell? Oh, many years ago. I don't think they're Russian. I think there were other people, but there were various partners. Will I sell condos to Russians on occasion? Probably. I mean, I do that. I have a lot of condos. I do that. But I have no relationship to Russia whatsoever.
No debts.
No debts. I have very little debt to anybody. I don't need debt. You know, it's very interesting. I'm so liquid, I don't need debt. And if I need debt, if I want debt, I can get it from banks in New York City very easily.
You know where I'm going to take this next. Americans could be assured on that if they saw your tax returns.
My tax returns are very simple. They're under a minor audit, routine audit, as they have been for many years. Every year I get audited. Now, I don't know if you get audited, but I have friends
I've
that are
been
very
audited.
wealthy that never have been audited. I say, do you get audited? I get audited every year. I'm under a routine audit, like routine. And I have been for years, every year.
But there are
If
several
it's
years that
finished,
are no longer
George,
under
here's
that
very
audit.
simple. Yeah, but they're all linked. It's called the link. It's very simple. If my audit's finished, that's great. Now, I have to tell you, I watched Mitt Romney 4 years ago. He waited till September to give him, just before the election. They made him look so bad. It was so unfair. I actually think he didn't lose because of the 47%. I think he lost because of a couple of really minor items in a tax return where he did nothing wrong. So it is unfair. But I will say, when I'm finished with the audit, I'll do it. And if
Richard
that's
Nixon
before the
released his
election-
even though his were under audit.
don't use Richard Nixon as necessarily the guide, okay? I mean, you know, it's an interesting person to use, but don't use it.
You are in an abusive relationship. Shocking boundary violations are one common grooming tactic of a narcissist or dark triad personality. If someone in your life points into a camera knowing you'll be looking at the view screen and pulls their finger like a trigger, looking into your eyes, saying, I could shoot someone in the street and not lose anyone, it is a good indicator of a bad situation. You are in an abusive relationship. Who has leveraged and climbed upon a fog of falsehood? Who has donned the falsehood? Who is the falsehood?
Sets the fear
if I told you that this is the mystery font 42? It should be convincing, but if it's not to you, then I'm gonna get really, really special. It's funny because it's true. Or it's not funny because I'm not being very funny right now. But it's true. It just takes me a while sometimes to believe all the way through. All right. We are there now. We have come to it. I am on top of the whole thing, and it's about to rise. There's a yip. One, radio. Also, science. Also, brain. What's the name of that spell? Radio. Ciencias. What is the word? It's cabeza, but what's the word for brain en español? No lo recuerdo. En este momento, alrighty. And radio science brain is different every time. It first appeared as a little rotating phrase that seemed like it liked to be repeated. And I did. And then I realized it needed to develop. And then I realized that it just wanted to keep developing. Radio, science, brain. This is the sentient brain, imagination. unstoppable and gaze in imagination. Candidates, some star never will come. Imagination, imagination, come, came to play today. The little radiant, this is the mainline state. Imagine, for this come came today to play. Waves began, this outdated, newly dated. In fact, it's future-rated. In fact, it's late because it's so far ahead. You don't know how the carbon could be in that state. Imagination aid, mind gauge, yes, mind maybe to see in others and ourselves in our rearrange that we're supposed to be. Supposed to be flourishing with creativity. We are moving libraries, filling schools with fears of weapons instead of moving our streets out of militarized policed prisons that have collapsed on our streets like we asked them, like police were the sea. This wounded conceive to endanger police with a mission with the wrong tools. You don't care with sharp teeth. You don't send people into rooms that need care with grenades and snares and say get in and out of there in one piece. I don't care how many of those teeth you release. Imagination aid. We can't realize the matrix is an invasion installed play. White supremacy ruins everyone's game, everyone's day. If you have the riches, they're spoiled with their stitches and the blood that's in those gifts and the built things that wilt. With those things we don't see and how it's not just the rules and how catastrophically bad. But imagine tasting menus with the moms of those dads. I can't imagine what it would be like to not realize that we can step out of this limbo. I can't imagine like not being able to see that it's not normal that I'm doing I'm doing the Burgles thing right now. This is what Burgles is doing. This is how I would achieve the Burgles effect. If you've been here at the Mystery Font before, in recent days, Burgles is, I believe, Burgles looks like an iceberg. I think Burgles is an iceberg. And Burgles becomes apparent through the portals and just hovers there like me. Sometimes very still, sometimes not really any movement to be seen, or maybe over a very long period of time, like this kind of thing might happen over a day. There's just kind of a spin or something, or a slight, pitch or something to, and Burgles just keeps coming. And just an observation, as I must look similar. I can see the feed. There are similarities. But this is not exactly an inertial dampening, but there are similarities to how at times when I move through this space, I think related maybe to the path of where I've used I've accessed jump rope to move through space, place, and time. But now my movement is really quite free, and with this treadmill effect here, I like that I can pause in a way and sort of just hold here, and from this place kind of contemplate with a real sense of like a control that's added, like training wheels, or just one thing that's not changing quite the same, to have something to lean on. It helps with spoons in a way. And maybe that's sometimes why we just pause. And I wouldn't mind it, actually. Sometimes if I could just, as I'm walking down the street and I'm arrived at the place I need to go, I wouldn't mind being able to just say, all right, I'm just going to get the benefit of a nice walk, but I'm not going to move forward and just make it so in a comfortable way. Why shouldn't this be possible? This should be simply possible elsewhere than here. But this is what I'm talking about. I mean, as if looking from the reflecting pool to the statue of Abraham Lincoln, I mean, he does look remarkably like Burgles, but this sense of a frozen moment in time, or a very long, a lot of score. There's a lot of score in between the heartbeats there. He's moving slowly if he's moving. I mean, they just visually have a similar look because he's so bright up at the top, and then there's this glow and like deepening dark as you descend in the image. That I can see this being, this does feel rather Burgles-like. And I suppose the idea of emancipation or renewing and renewing the Reconstruction, making good on emancipation, and like really taking to truly honor the movement and the human rights campaign of Black Lives Matter, and not going backwards, moving forwards with police reform, moving forward with things that make people safe, make police or peace officers, whatever we bring into being and change. We make training better. We make police or peace officers less militarized. I think the danger of fascism and the danger of further militarizing or allowing the continued militarization as it is of police, it's decimating danger. And it's really not a way to cultivate a safe society either. Forming a society around an idea of terroristic punishment and calling it freedom, just putting that name on it like a sticker, calling it America, even though it looks like, well, Project 2025 and Agenda 47 is the iceberg we're looking at, I think. I think Trump and the Heritage Foundation and Stephen Miller and Steve Bannon and a band of Ku Klux Klan thugs are in a continued siege that is coming for what remains of America that could come back to life as the new Colossus or just be the end of our carcass. Don't fall for MAGA, read Trader, greed. We are worth more than that. You are worth more than that. All of us are worth more than that. We don't have to buckle to fear and buckle to the lies and scapegoating horror show falsehoods of lynch mob, brain syndrome stokers like Marjorie Taylor Greene. We don't have to allow terrorists like Sarah Huckabee Sanders to ruin people's lives in racist and transphobic and homophobic and misogynistic, bigoted, tantrums that are under the guise of government officiated and sanctioned events. I mean, it's really abominable to see. It's really abominable to see people simply institute like a Confederate idea of what is just in the 21st century. For Ron DeSantis to be terrorizing black Floridians and black Americans, it's happening. That's where we are. Ron DeSantis is utilizing terrorism basically against anybody who's not white cis male. But the thing is, that also means it terrorizes white cis males. White supremacy terrorizes everyone. Everyone has to behave within the structure of that mentally ill, terroristic, bloodthirsty hierarchy based on punishment. And I think our addiction to punishment and our addiction to trying to cover up crimes that we say we didn't do or weren't so bad, like that's an iceberg that's coming too. And in fact, we are strong enough, we are hardy enough, we are virtuous enough, we are loving enough, we are mature enough, and deep enough to contain all of the lacks of those things in ourselves and one another, that it is worth it and possible and in fact a must do. Like, this will be not just worth it, but this is getting out. This is getting out of a snare that has held us for hundreds of years. We can process this Truth and reconciliation is a difficult thing, but it's the only way we have actual peace. We start to build pockets of peace by finding understanding and the ability to make space for one another, to look at what happened and just understand. We can't actually say it wasn't that bad. We'll never know just how terrible. And we don't want to. We don't want to allow the retrader brain syndrome, the greed of, the KKK political wing, MAGA. We don't want that terroristic, corrupt, and or just hoodwinked. I don't think that everyone who thinks of themselves as adherent to Donald Trump or MAGA think of themselves as violent people or terrorists. And the person you are adhering to and the language is clearly talking about absolute authority, terroristic power, and based along the lines of white supremacy and patriarchal terror, including all kinds of racism and bigotry against gay people and trans people, people with disabilities, people who get, for Donald Trump to shame and belittle and denigrate people in the military who have been caught or injured, like, they have done stuff that he has not dared to do in his pampered, plumpered, powdered, primped, pewtered, pootered, pissy parties. We haven't seen you, you've had some kinds of service. You've had plenty of service done to you and upon you and for you. All kinds of deference and all kinds of defecation, I'm sure. And delicacies of which, no one would want to endure, and we've probably seen millions, maybe billions have been spent by you. But it seems like it's the parties it's where it goes through. We need to apprehend that the particle that brought looting was white supremacy. The particle that doesn't just resupply from the people that stole their family or resupply from a massive corrupt corporation, but white supremacy is the people that came and sacked neighborhoods and took families and raped and murdered and threw people in the ocean and told people to never speak their family's name again. These are the worst crimes that have been done during America's lifetime. Most of them in America or supported by America. It's not to say that because those things happened, we're bad. It's to say because we're good, it's time to process that stuff is real, and that because we know it happened, there are reparations that have to happen. When there's crime, especially crime that has no statute of limitations, it's on us to deal with the iceberg of reparations for genocide and enslavement. It's on us to deal with this iceberg. Because, Lincoln was not as evolved as we would like to think. He didn't think this all through that much. And we need to take this to where it's going. This iceberg, frozen there, saying, okay, emancipation is proclaimed. The construction needs to reconstruction. We need to reinitiate with a new view of what that means and what this is here to do. Like, what we're a nation. And we have been really degraded, I think. We have been viciously groomed to hate ourselves, to think of ourselves as weak and unable to face difficult problems like, if there's been a crime that's committed, don't pay your lawyers, get some worse ones, just outrun it forever. Just outrun it forever. Call the court faulty, if it's just outrun and lie and lie and lie. That's the modeling we're getting. And, if there's accountability coming for a massacre of a Black Wall Street in America somewhere, like the use of DARVO to deny and attack and reverse victim and offender in these situations, for this to still be happening now, obviously there's a resurgence, but it's so obvious that this continued terrorism and like dumb wrestling match of, well, no, there's no structural racism, there's nothing here. Like, excuse me, we walk around this. How do we walk around this, or simply, get off of the treadmill of, we're not arguing anymore about whether or not structural racism exists. We are dismantling that racism. We are taking it on when we see it, we're actually dealing with it. Or maybe sometimes a pause like this happens because someone says, actually, no, I'm not moving forward here. I've encountered this thing and I'm going to hold on that thing you're waiting on because we're at the boundary now. I've delivered the whole way, and this item was done in the same way that's been harming someone. Just happened again. This is where the cycle would now reinitiate. Based on that, I'm not delivering it. I'm obviously here, working, ready to go. Everything's in motion, except for this, because there is a boundary on how this is being accomplished, and to pass it on and complete the cycle and calibrate with this as codec and precedent is damaging and toxic and wrong. So I'm pausing. Maybe. I mean, what if I didn't know that I was paused? What if I just couldn't tell that, or couldn't tell others that there was something I was holding back and I wasn't trying to stop? I'm full steam ahead. Why can't you tell that I'm just going at, I'm full steam ahead? Why can't you tell that I'm not in limbo? How can we tell when we are the iceberg? How can we tell when we are acting with a sense of limbo, or that there is that around us, that there is inertia, that there are torpors or turbulences or whirlpools that are pausing us, or when we are bringing that somehow? And how do we field these distortions in reality around us and like do a sounding and notice with our own distortion fields and our own sense of reality, our own patternicity engines? How do we recognize where there are torpors and inertial. Why can I not stop saying inertial dampeners or dampenings, dampened areas? Because I would like to be able, I mean, why would I not want to be able to move forward and come into view all the better to do what needs done, being done, to be done. It is the mystery font. It is Radio Science Brain. It is 6 the feet of separation.
Six the feet of separation. Six the fear of separation. Six the fear of separation. Six the feet of separation. Six the feet of separation. Six feet of separation. 6 feet of separation. 6 feet of separation. Sets the fear of separation. 6 the fear of separation. He didn't mean to cause a panic. He didn't mean to cause lost in World War II. Hit hard as radar read their crew. And what we knew was probably due. Had no great American wall or boundary left. Just let it through. He didn't mean to cause a panic. The Nazis lost. He didn't mean to cause a panic. 'Cause radar read them coming through to cause a panic. Screw New Zealand and wind caution to let us play. As long as we went Lord, we know to play. He clouded thought, and that's how flow. So plan stick. The falsehoods plain, we know done one. The falsehoods plain, we know who done one. The falsehoods plain, we know who done one. Away, 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 away. Away, 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 away. Away, away, away. He didn't mean to cause a drastic accomplice to be so apparent. He didn't mean to cause a panic. He meant to draw iceberg to Titanic. Dixie, 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 Dixie. Even library easy. He didn't mean to draw an optics that he warned iceberg of Titanic, but he warned iceberg and Titan stick. Away, 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 away. You got a tree and leave a stump. I don't recognize guardian. To got a seed and leave a stump. I don't perceive a guardian. To got a tree and leave a stump. I don't perceive a guardian. To guard a tree and leave a stump. It's not what I call guardian. To embody actual trump. You're a real card, your father's son. You're a real card, your father's suit. You're a real card, your father's root. It's not the thing you swear upon, it's what your heart was. It's what your heart was. It's what your heart will not abandon. It's what your heart won't abandon. It's what your heart won't abandon. It's how your word becomes action. It's that your word's an honest one. How long must you menace us? You do doubt the new Colossus. You're a real card. You're a real card. You're a real card. Real card. Real card. He didn't want to cause a panic. He didn't want to cause a panic. Plans stick when planning happens. We're not there. 6 the feet of separation. 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 Sick alliance with predation. 6 the feet of separation. 6 the feet of separation. 6 the feet of separation. 6 the fear of devastation. Reason lifts negative thinking. Executive deception is easier in place with reason. Executive function leaves without reason. Executive function leaves without reason. Executive function. Your brain function. Calm, escalate, calm.
it's not nuts to say. New under the sun can come today. Imagination aid mind made. Imagination contagious, contagious, containless, contain thus the continental universal constitutional multi-daily pratfall into imagine sprawling thrall I crave and climbing grave. I measure, I parade this promenade. Imagination this intuitive is creative grace. Imagination made my name into imagination aid. Mind made like a flag, my mind waves in craving, thinking today I play because I'm game, I won't be prey. Imagination aid. Radio science brain concave to play imagination. Radio science brain imagination. Contain the activate, contain the practical game. Radio science brain, radio science brain. I made this contagious again for a mind to hold rhyme and harmony and play. Imagination ain't might meditate on the potential we contain. Of science brain, I made game and free. To ride, to collide, to this is a science I'm a cloud of smoke, I rise, giving from this cool wave I have gratitude for this imagination I am good, I imagination. This I am craving, imagining, waiting, not in vain. Radio science brain, pretend the mind is made. This imagine it contain this contagious ache. Particle matter wave for the human stake. Pretending is ascending ascension. science brain. Pretend it came, pretend that come just came. To play today and asked if your game can use more players or supporters or new openings, new hopes and games, and the kindness that signs under and won't blind us. It contains the science craving aims. Radio science. Yes, well, that is one way that it sometimes happens. I think it's notable that radio science brain is different every time. And let's go back to a slightly earlier version of the backing track and a bit longer. That was over 7 minutes, and this beats that by a hearty sum. Time will tell. I don't know what, but I know it well. I don't know what, but I know it well. I don't know, but time will tell. I don't know what, but I do know well. Maybe not exactly what. I think what I'm looking for, maybe I need to. I can't be the only one. I'm trying a new way to find things when I cannot find them the same way I found them before. Do, 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 do. The Swingles are on next on the Mystery Font Chronicles adventures. That's Radio Science Brain. I think we have this one. Maybe it's, oh, there we go. There we go. I think we're already where we need to be. And we are prepared. This is Radio Science Brain. Again, a different backing track, an earlier version. It sounds like this. Particle matter wave, particle matter wave, particle matter wave, Jermaine. Radio science brain, this is the science cave. End of craving, I'm coming back to Kane. How I might find vision or regain imagination, aim, imagination, aim. Mind made this category of plaintive. Mind, brain, give imagination, aid. Mind made. Radio science brain came to play, not yesterday, that was another way. To this maze I made way, like this day I kinda day today. Mind made this and it's gray matter essay. I'm actually at play, this nature, my creature aches to play. It's active, a game music makes imagination aid. Mind made radio science brain this page. After page, each beat has pages on pages. Outrageous, it's folding pop-ups under open up and down tuppence. Crumpets, these crunches, these beats munching umps of these countries and lunges. Mind made this, I gave it main line of imagination aim. This is such a good example. I'm sure you realized, a slight part in there where I was quieter than the rest, although it seemed like I was singing and improvising, and I was. And, so I managed to not break things. Of course, I did not turn the mic back on after I coughed, and had turned the mic off to not cough into your ears, tender observer, viewer, listener, person, some such sentience, attentions. Such happens. It may have recorded otherwise, and lip reading is a thing, because these are intended to be transcribed. Radio science brain, because they are, except when I intentionally do it with a different meter or a different tempo, I'm always doing it at the same tempo, and I'm always doing it in the same key. And so it can layer over, and it can, I foresee it being something that I would catalog and that you can scroll through or layer, or, but it's essentially one long song poem. It's essentially one long, or, you know, each time it's different, although similar. And I think, well, yes, I am going to do it again. Now that I have, well, let's make sure that I have the mic on this time. And this is mystery font. If you are in Minneapolis, Minnesota, you should also know, not only is this place here, not only at the font is there the opportunity to share work, but a long time super fresh, like for 30 years, Balls Cabaret has been a thing with incredible performances and an idea. Hopefully this won't be super loud. And sound, rustly, rustle. At Balls Cabaret in Minneapolis. It's always been a place where people in any level of involvement with or experience with or whatever your relationship to art or performance or whatever you want to share or do, it's just get up and share whatever you want to share. And so there have been intense, interesting things over the years, but it's a lot of mostly just wonderful stories and songs and interesting moments of theater and dance. And it's a good thing. It's a truly good thing. And I think there's something, well, not just something. There are myriad things, there are infinite things that can't really be contained or explained, that are not the same if we're not in the same room together or nearby. If we're not nearby enough to see and be reacting in space to movement or hearing people's voices, or, you know, that someone's movement has an effect on like the dynamics of movement of air in the room in a way that we can feel. And that we're, you know, just being in the room together is movement. If we move into a room and are in the room with people, that's a slow kind of procession, you know. That's eventually, there's something there. We're coming together, we're, other than like, I'm just looking into a screen, or there are all kinds of things that are, it's great to be able to not have to necessarily be in person for, but for some things it's also like the value of being near or in person, or, you know, able to see people physically in space who are actually there. It's for art and for performance, like, it's really, really, it's nuts, like how, because of COVID and other things, there's just less of it. And I can't believe how much I've adjusted to just like not thinking about how much it's odd that we don't, that I have not as much. I've been worried and wearing a mask a lot in places with a lot of folks, still mostly, just because it's still around. There are new strains and it's intense, and I don't want to, you know, long symptoms and those kinds of things. Like, I want to take care and not pass it on to people who are vulnerable around me and all that stuff. I just want to be wise. I want to be careful. I want to be healthy. And I think right now it's important to see that we as Americans, and really the planet, we're being threatened right now. Right now we're being threatened by neo-Nazis and Nazis and collaborators who call themselves Christian nationalists or things of that nature, but who are essentially the Ku Klux Klan or Nazis. The Heritage Foundation and Donald Trump and Mike Johnson, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Ron DeSantis, Kari Lake, Greg Abbott, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, this kind of bandwidth, the Tucker Carlson bandwidth of just a puke of a variety, a potpourri of lies to confuse and coerce people into just giving up, to like, I guess I just can't, it's just going to keep being vomity lies, so we just, okay, fine, they're just going to release all this footage only to a couple of right-wing outlets. Okay, we just, like, that's just happening. Okay, now Tucker just has another venue and just more lies and just disavowing and just pretending like he wasn't doing seditious venom at Fox for years. The amount of people whose lives have been destroyed by Tucker Carlson, I mean, the malice of such disinformation. That's why it's crazy that he was given that stuff to work with. It's like, let's give Goebbels the task of just examining if there's any evidence of any, National Socialist Party, of any Nazi party, wrongs at all during. Like, what? We're looking at people threatening us and telling us they're coming, and that's that. And we need to mobilize now to demand that those people back all the way off to healthcare and accountability and checking the Constitution. And that we have an election, but we're dealing with like really, really terrible criminals, people who are in office terrorizing people in their state, telling people in your state who were ancestors whose ancestors were enslaved that those people benefited from enslavement. You're a terrorist, Ron DeSantis. You're a criminal. You're a criminal. I mean, that is terrorizing and breaking people down. That is an effort to sow wrong. And when the NAACP issued a travel advisory for African Americans to Florida, you sowed actual state-sponsored terrorism. And that is who you are. You normalize. You make a joke about people being unsafe because of you, Ron DeSantis. You act like cancer, in part because cancer acts like cancer likes being cancer. Cancer. Sarah Huckabee Sanders and Ron, Marjorie, the Marguerite Trader greed bandwidth is denied. You are to seek healthcare and seek counsel of people who can help you come back to the table of humanity without the cancerous infection and crime of that white supremacist, misogynist, patriarchal terrorist, bigoted, homophobic disaster, that nonsense. it's done. The last gasp of this to try to clench and break democracy, the incel culture that fantasizes that whiteness is some kind of a thing as opposed to just a construction, a construct for greedy, terroristic capitalization upon human being as chattel. You want to go back to that kind of petered out the great? If you want that battle, the answer is no. We won't have that battle, and we won't entertain the idea of any way backwards to chattel. We're not cattle. None of us ever were. We'll have the conversation about what do we do with Confederate statues. We'll have conversations. We'll have all the conversations. But we're going to have them like cogently, without actual insurrectionists gaslighting and trying to create lynch mobs. We're not going to have truck with it. And it is time. It is time now. It is time now to be dialing in and talking to the people who are being coaxed to build networks of right-wing terror and coercive power. That you are, if you engage in this, building terrorism and crime. You are building the next stage of genocide and the next stage of enslavement. You are building a Nazi party and a Ku Klux Klan renaissance. You are building a bloodbath. If you're trying to do this, if you're being a part of Project 2025, if you're being a part of Agenda 47, you are trying to bring bloodbath. And you are collaborating, essentially, with the Ku Klux Klan and Nazis. The answer that America has for that, the answer that the Mystery Font has for that, the answer that I have for that, the answer that humanity has for that, the answer that America has for that is no. We're not going to play an explosive tantrum, apocalypse game. The healthcare system exists. There's plenty of that to go around, and we're not going to clean up after you, and we're not going to lose people, and we're not going to allow you to suicide bomb your way into panic space. We're not going to fight about it. You lost. You lost a long time ago. Period. We're not arguing about the Civil War anymore, and we're not having another one. You need to calm down. You need to calm down. Enough to gestate with the thought of all of the evidence that the Tantrumanian devil. If it's not clear that he's not only decaying, but that there is a real problem with not just lies and saying intense stuff that, nobody else, he relishes the unthinkable, and he is trying to beat Hitler's record. That's where we're going. He's working on a gross apocalypse that he believes he can ride we can't let the new Colossus fall to that. This actually is a really beautiful, wonderful experiment that we've been working on here. If we get rid of the horrible, criminal, apocalyptic terror crutches that we got through the door on, we did a lot of stuff wrong. We should be able to say, oh my God, we didn't have to do that. Damn it. And yes, we're here. And yes, it was a violent world. We didn't, my ancestors, my Caucasian, light-skinned European ancestors did not invent violence, but we, people with my last name who have held slaves, that chattel slavery, and that was like a Henry Ford escalation, the North Atlantic slave trade and what was done here, and the genocide of Native Americans, all of this has been far, far worse than it seems students are really being allowed to know about. And that's bad, because it didn't just stop. That's really literally turning out the lights for just information about oh, this is why this is the way this is. Because, and that's where the falsehood is able to permeate and make hokum powerfully a force for disaster. We are endangering our children by removing their ability to learn how to deal with difficult, real things in life. I've been able to deal with a lot of situations in life because as we went through school, it was available to me and to other students that our lives were somewhat available to one another. There wasn't some myth that we all had exactly the same kind of lives, and there were efforts to just share things. And it wasn't necessarily about culture or about, but it was awareness. I was born in the 70s. This is in the 80s and the 90s. And in the 80s, it was really important that, in my schools, where we did a couple of nuclear bomb drills, but we never had any shooters. I remember there was one white male predator who made it into the elementary school and assaulted a kid in the bathroom. But shooters, no. And generally it was really quite safe compared to today. And what's changed, except for massive focused entrenchment and deference to terroristic, militarized, increasingly right-wing and extremist right-wing power source and hegemony. And we have to recognize this. I think what it means is we need truly cogent, brilliant, apt, ready people, ready to run and ready to be there for all kinds of positions. Now, if Trump wins or just takes over in some way, which seems to be what he things he'll do, I imagine, then it's a different thing than just being ready. But we're looking at an attack. We are facing an oncoming attack. The next wave, the next physical wave of the insurrection that started on January 6th. There have been spates and bits and pieces here that have been stochastically brought into being by Donald Trump and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Ron DeSantis and others. But that is what Donald Trump and the Heritage Foundation and that band of terrorist Nazi corrupt thugs are working to do. We need to say no. We need to say no forever. We are a country built for democracy. We're fostering that for real here, for actual representative democracy. Yes, we are a constitutional republic with representative democracy, as has always been. And we are a secular nation. We do have religious freedom. That means freedom from the establishment of religion, of any one religion. And the Nazis did use Christianity as a banner. We need to pay attention to the wisdom of Thomas Jefferson and others who knew and protected us and protected religions, protected faith, and protected our government by keeping these things separate. So different kinds of corruptions don't mix, things that cannot be sustained. Look at where we already are. We cannot rupture more. We need to foster a rebuilding of things like we need to dismantle Citizens United. We need to bring a fairness doctrine or something better back. We need to reverse the massive redistribution of wealth that went from the middle class and a blooming underclass of growing health and simply gave it to corporations and the wealthiest. We have been hoodwinked and robbed and shafted. And that's happened to all of us. That was just an additional thing on top of all of the harm that has happened to everybody except for white men, has made it like a lot of white men and white women, I think, are like, whoa, gosh, see, it's always been bad for everybody. Not so much, kids. But here's the thing. Like, it is apprehendable. It's all apprehendable. We can register this. We can register that we are being pitted against one another, and that, yes, the enslavement and the ongoing enslavement was that bad and worse, and is that bad and worse. That it's happening now is apocalyptic. We don't have to be reinstituting this generational trauma and crime. It's just crime. It's abject Jeffrey Dahmer normalized crime. To have child labor happening in America again, that is crime. That's just corruption making terrorism possible upon children's imagination and lives and hope. Those are lives drilled into desolation. That's stuff you can't recover from. I mean, kids who can't hear when they're 18, kids who lose arms, kids who are abused, kids who are assaulted, kids who are around adults without emotional regulation skills and literally given PTSD. while essentially being slaves for their parents or a company or some corrupt thug. This is not all right. Some of the worst people in America have grabbed terroristic, Nazi, steeped, ideologically based power. The greatest generation fought these cancerous, criminal, weak, pathetic, pedophilic, drenched ideas. The Nazis are absolutely pedophiles. The Ku Klux Klan, absolutely huge pedophiles and exploiters. The church, how often? Christ was not ostentatious. Christ was not looking across a border and saying, those people aren't people. They're on the other side of that border. Christ was on the other side of the border in a lot of ways, and Christ was lynched because Christ preached to love our neighbor as ourselves. Christ preached that we should be woke. And it was unconditional, and it was fervent, and it was kind, and it was real, and it was everlasting. And it was intoxicating, because Christ apparently was also something to behold, that people liked the way, apparently, this prophet or person, whoever this Christ figure was, this Jesus Christ, people, like with Buddha, like with Muhammad, people listened, people believed that there was a message here that was real and good. And the commonalities in the message are worth noting. And for those of us who are glad that ideals of Christianity are part of what our faiths do inform our ideas with about democracy, about freedom, about justice. And Jesus was homeless, and Jesus was Jewish, and Jesus was not white. And all that stuff is fine, and it's fine to be white. It's fine to be anything except intolerant. That's where we are, is that America is standing now for tolerance. We stand for tolerance, and we tell MAGA, no, absolutely not. No. No. It's not happening. You need to calm down. You've got plenty of stuff. You're not going to be left behind. And you're also not going to hurt anybody. We're not going to allow you to do this nonsense. We're not going to allow you to tell us you're coming in with tanks and then go buy your tanks. No. No, Stephen Miller. No, Steve Bannon. No, Charlie Kirk. No. 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 And yes to the new Colossus, to trusting that we can have the difficult conversations to come together without resorting to intolerance or tolerating intolerance. Those are one and the same. We do not tolerate one thing. That is our unity. We do not tolerate intolerance. Be who you are, think what you want. And we are tolerance for all, but intolerance. It really is so simple, and it works. The math of good works. There's enough. And if we stop our addiction to punishment, we are going to have the wherewithal and the recharge in us that we lack now. We are going to, if we stop building into the system and demanding that there is adversarial harm, that there is a punishment dungeon, that there is a cage that crushes, if we remove that from the system, we will be better at things. Things done with joy are better. Everything will be a little bit, a lot better. It's not going to be utopia. It's just going to be kindness. And we are a kind. And we are our own kind. We should not be terrorized to run for our lives as if we are entertaining and ingesting now, as if we are actually indulging in the pursuit of happiness. The pursuit of a day when we might pursue happiness is not the pursuit of happiness. And while Marjorie Taylor Greene is wiping the blood from her lips and screaming that it's time to have a lynch mob, we have to simply realize that Nellie Oleson has had too much crack or fetal alcohol syndrome or crime sugar. It's just Whitefire, Nazi, blistering Jeffrey Dahmer terrorist crime sugar. It's crime sugar. It's just crime sugar. Whatever you want to call it, it's nonsense. There's nothing there. It's empty calories. It's havoc. And we can bring love. We can bring kindness come. We can bring kindness come here now. Jesus was not a conquester. Jesus did not carry a sword. Jesus carried a word. Love your neighbor as yourself. It's that simple. That can be described in one word. Woke. Jesus taught humanity to be woke, to treat our neighbors as we treat ourselves. I wouldn't step on my own foot in a way that hurt. And if I did it to my neighbor, I would be aware enough to care enough to not do it again and probably apologize. And I wouldn't make a joke about it the next day unless we had that kind of funny, weird relationship. Because I'm aware enough to not smack somebody else in a way that I would not like myself. I'm aware enough to not be a terrorist to people around me, to not be an intimidating brute or boorish thug or corrupt wastrel of a lout. What part of basic human decency is Elon Musk trying to con us out of? What kind of Tates are we supposed to be suckling on there? What kind of Andrew Tates are we supposed to nuzzle under your shirt and suck on, Elon? How dare you? You little baby. How dare you? How dare you, Elon Musk? I mean, pathetic. I mean, truly, wondrously pathetic. How dare you? How dare you? Do you not see? Do you not see? You do not see. Don't you? No to you Nazis. No. The answer is no. You're going to have to find a way to live with other people. You don't get to harm people. You don't get to outrun things. You don't get to sow harm and then just not ask for permission or forgiveness. We are meeting your asteroid with pre-plans. The time has come for you to give up. The time has come for Nazis to finally give up. It's just shitty math. It doesn't work. It requires damage that society is further stalled and harmed and corrupted by. So the answer is no. The answer is no. We're going with woke. You know, like going with kindness, like going with basic human decency and justice. Because woke is really easy to define, I think. I don't know why anyone like Elon Musk would have a problem with this unless they are attaching a list of bigoted associations that bigots are throwing to sow bigoted harm. But woke is awareness of and for human kindness and dignity. It's a good thing to be. Political conscience fosters human family. Hopefully Bill Maher gets the memo. Political correctness is some Archie Bunker bullshit. That is some Archie Bunker bullshit. Political conscience is what we've always been on about. Political conscience is what being aware is about. I want to be aware as much as I would hope somebody else would be of me. Or that if I'm really in need or in pain, or hey, you've insulted, or whatever, or my mother doesn't like that word, or oh, did you not know how this place came to be? You've kind of insulted the family. Like, do we not want to be aware of anything at all? Do we not care? Does nothing matter? If all lives matter, then something matters. I don't like hearing white people say all lives matter. I want to just say, prove it. And I would say prove it or lose it. Because what's more obvious than love your neighbor is be woke? What's more obvious? What is more obvious, Elon Musk, than that love your neighbor means be woke? Be woke to one another's needs. Be woke as a human being and ready to embrace that. Like, yeah, it doesn't feel good to get admonished, to get reproached, to have somebody say, hey, did you know, like, I don't necessarily have time to get an update on everything, but sometimes we want to know what's going on. It's called the news. It's called, we are a fibered, patched in, connected tapestry. You don't like getting the news from this person? Hey, maybe they're not your friend. Maybe don't talk to them anymore. Maybe set your boundaries. But reproach is part of free speech, Elon. Reproach is part of free speech. You know, so scolding from any part, or admonishment, or advice, or mentioning, or opinion from any part, that's all free speech. If you care about free speech, seriously, how stupid do you think we are? How stupid do you think we are? This is just nonsense. Ridiculous nonsense. Like, it's like it's on the par of like that this is just a bet. Like, instead of doing as he did, I mean, you're not Einstein, but as if Einstein, after publishing a couple of major works early in the 20th century, you know, comes in with just like total nonsense to just, as a bet with his friends, to say they're going to buy it. They're just going to bite it and base a lot of shit off of it, and we'll make a theme park out of it. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Is this just a game? Did you calculate that it's more profitable to gaslight us that you're not a Nazi and cosplay as a Nazi? Or are you a Nazi? Like, can the jig just be up? You're sliding down 22, you know, full to the brim with $100 bill shipping containers. You're sliding down them, you know, the Joker Knight, or whatever you are, whatever cosplay bullshit you're doing. Can we just like cut to the end? It's not dramatic. It's abusive. You are a stalker and a predatory abuser. The way you are treating people is wretched. The way you are communicating on your platform. This is your personality? Mark Zuckerberg, I'm not a huge fan, but he's not a lurker in his club's VIP lounge drinking sweat off of everybody's neck. Sir, why are you around every corner breathing fascistic threats? Sir, why are you lurking? Sir, like, what kind of chocolate factory is this? Really, Mr. Musk? Really, Mr. Musk? Are you drunk? Are you falling apart? Because this doesn't look like wellness. If you want friends, reach out for that. Reach out for help, because we can come with the helpness. But stop, dude. Stop this nonsense, or you will be stopped. You will be stopped. Healthcare comes to petulant, man-sized baby terrorists. It does. It will. We can sign and pass that bill. Pass and sign and pass, however it comes to pass. Sign that manuscript. Or alas the masses, alas the mass. Really. It's a joke, right? It's a joke. Nobody's that dumb. I mean, Andrew Tate is that dumb. Matt Walsh is that dumb. Charlie Kirk is definitely that dumb. Ben Shapiro is probably that dumb, actually. I don't like the word dumb, but what else is there if it's not just, it's incompetence or corruption? It's incompetence or volition. It's the same with Donald Trump. We're dealing with Nazis and Nazi collaborators. It's incompetence or corruption. Incompetence or volition. Incompetence could be said to be a kind of corruption, I suppose. But we have incompetence or volition to blame, and it's important that we're able to apprehend the falsehood. And knowing what we're on about, what we come from, what we are, and what we're going to, that's being aware. That's being able to take care of myself and respond to others taking care of themselves in ways that are holistically sound and ethical and kind. Like that there's a humankind that we're a part of. I treat other people like they're part of my kind, and I demand the same of others, and I demand the same of all of us. And that we all demand of ourselves that we treat ourselves like we are one of our own kind. When you're alone, you have a guest. You are a beautiful human being. Even if you are hostage to the Ku Klux Klan indoctrination that I and other loyal Americans are trying to stop from happening anymore, even if you are victim or held by that ideology, even if you are still strangleheld and strangled, gasping for breath under the terrorism and indoctrination of Nazism, you still are a beautiful and wonderful human being. But you have cancer. And that mental cancer, just like a cancer in your leg, is telling your leg or your brain, you like me. More of me for the party. Show me to everybody. Show me to your family. Spread me. The whole party's going to love this family. It's going to taste great. Again. Get help. Humanity is here, and you have a place at the table without your cancer. Get help. Get help. You have been hoodwinked by the falsehood. You have been hoodwinked by a Nazi collaborating or Nazi sympathetic falsehood donor. It's easy to remember because the one who donned the falsehood, who donned an age in which we are soaked and drenched and flooded with falsehood, conveniently, his name is Donald. Who donned an age of falsehood? Who has donned the falsehood? Don't let it be you anymore. Don't let it be people in your life. Don't let it be me. Don't let it be you tomorrow. If you note that there is a falsehood drawn over you, that someone has hoodwinked you with, winked over your eyelids, so you're like, the lights went out. A hood has winked over my very eyes. If you realize that this has happened, these things happen. So what are we going to do about it? It's not your fault. We are talking about an incredibly potent master of wielding a reality distortion field, cult of personality, and decimating greed of all kinds of people, moving things out of his path to allow him to do whatever he wants. But listen to his words. Essentially, everything that he says is, I have absolute authority. Everything else is just Darvo to maintain that he gets to do what he wants. And that backdrop of the afterglow of he's just always standing there going, didn't do anything wrong, makes it simply that is the narrative for his true believers who have given up on believing anything that anybody else says, including venerated, long-time, fairly sober, fairly detached and clinical, it seems to me, news sources. Like, we have broken and imbibed and embraced cult of personality. Or, I mean, I guess, those who are swooned within it, I guess that's what it is. But the flavor of how the media has been broken by Trump and terrorized from reporting what he's doing as truly antagonistic to the country, like, that we kind of just treat it like, oh, that sounds like a nice show, as opposed to they're doing a show about cannibalism with real eating of people. Like, wait, what? Oh, it sounds like quite a show. No, it's not just another election. Oh, no. Well, he is the leading No. Well, Jeffrey Dahmer is the leading I mean, he is really sensational. People like to talk about this Jeffrey Dahmer guy. I mean, the answer is no. Like, we are clearly working with the internalization of punishment and nightmare and, like, disaster spectacle. This is not a movie. It's not a movie. And we can't accept being coerced to allow him to say, I have absolute authority, and then do stuff with threats that put people in jail. Says, that's somebody who makes a joke about, I'm going to sleep with your partner. Like, wait, what do you mean? Oh, I was just joking. And then he gets in the cab with your wife and drives off as a joke. And you're like, what? Or your husband, or like, what? What are you doing? Oh, I'm just joking. Oh, no, we're going to go, we'll be back at our house. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? This is a nightmare. Stop lighting fire to people's houses. Deal in good faith. What are you talking about, sir? What are you talking about, sir? No, you're not. No, why are you getting into our bed? I just grabbed what I want. I declassified your bed. I declassified your marriage. What? Knock, knock, knock. Hey, you're not. Hey, I'm just trying to have a good threesome here. Just trying to have a really nice threesome. You're getting in the way. Whoa. We don't consent to that. We actually want to file a restraining order. Are you seriously? This is threesome interference. This is threesome interference. How terrible. No one has ever had such interference trying to have an honorable and sexy, as hot can be threesome like I'm going to have with you. I can't believe this. I almost don't want to now. Like, that's where we are. What kind of hocus pocum? What kind of, we're stabbed by the hocus pocus at this. The hocus has poked us. We are, like, skewered, basically, if we don't see this as submission, Stockholm syndrome. This is letting a Nazi cobra dance in front of us and figure out where to bite. The answer is no. The answer is make safe space between you and someone who is going to strike. And we need to mobilize now as a nation and a globe to assure that anyone seeking to become a part of Project 2025 and Agenda 47 is shown to healthcare, accountability, and yes, deprogramming. Ku Klux Klan and Nazis and death cults, yes, those members are shown to healthcare and deprogramming. A batshit of deplorables, yes, you get help. You don't get to hurt people. Yes, you get help. Yes, you get help that looks like what other people says it is. If you are trying to harm people, if intolerance is a cancer you won't be dispossessed of, then displacement becomes something. Then tolerance then has a limit. Then intolerance sees you as a problem for tolerance that we share and foster for everyone. Like Donald had a duty to foster the tolerance of like not being able to do whatever he wants, and like the people didn't vote for you, dude. Not enough. A lot, but even more voted for Joe Biden. So them is the breaks. Oh no, he says, I'm going to break my oath. I'm going to break democracy. I'm just going to break shit. I'm going to go and pout in a room. Doesn't matter that my job title literally means preside and that I called a party here and I know what's going on and I'm kind of responsible. I made the flyers. What does preside mean? It means to sit before, to watch over, to be the one in charge of. The president, the one who presides, is in charge of the whole thing. The nation, the meeting, the event. So the only question is he disqualified because he's incompetent? Or is he disqualified because he had volition to do harm and break his oath for personal corrupt gain? In which case he's also deeply criminally and civilly culpable and liable. He is probably in between, and it doesn't diminish anywhere in between. Anywhere on that spectrum, that's the thing. You asked for that big job and you really screwed it up, or you weren't trying to do a good job. You either did a great job at doing a terrible thing, or you did a terrible job at doing a good duty. You just sucked, or you intentionally tried to suck us. Which is it? Volition or incompetence? Incompetence or volition? Volition or incompetence? Incompetence or volition?
It's faulty. The falsehood will tell you facts aren't factual actually. The falsehood will tell you intuition's faulty. The falsehood will tell you facts aren't factual actually. The falsehood will tell you intuition's faulty. The falsehood will tell you facts aren't factual actually. The falsehood will tell you intuition's faulty. The falsehood will tell you facts aren't factual actually. The falsehood will tell you intuition's faulty. The falsehood will tell you facts aren't factual.
Welcome back. We're here at the Mystery Font. And next, there's a presentation from an artist who I'm really excited to have share something here. And there might be a slight delay. Well, we'll see how this works. But I'm excited to announce that through this portal, or maybe in another one, we'll see, that you are going to perform, if you like. Take it away. A space like this, or this central part of the Panopticon, any of these rooms or outside, there's a large, newly paved, flat lot, or another lot out here. We're actually near a park, we're near a pond. But certainly within the font, there are options. And this whole first floor is cleared to be an in-the-round theater. In a commercial building, it's a freestanding building, an old dentist's office, with this peculiar arrangement in the waiting room here, this reflecting pool. So, what would you bring? What poem, what dance piece, maybe just you, maybe 5 people, I don't know. Now, distributed across a whole space, or maybe contained in a small area, maybe outside and filmed from in, or inside and filmed from out. Maybe it's animation, maybe it's glow puppetry, maybe it's just darkness and simply sound poetry. But whether in here or in another place, I would like you and your ideas, your art, and your hopes to have the time and place. This is a place for you. This is the Mystery Font 42. What do you say? What would you do? What will you do? What will you or someone with ideas important to you or art that you want to see the world know and have come through, what will you bring to the Mystery Font 42? Did you get bumped from the Tonight Show review? Did you have a guest artist booking with Samantha Bee's new show? Or what about Issa Rae's new late night show that's going to be obviously incredible? What if you get bumped from that? I can get you in here at the Mystery Font 42. Is your company in the area and your play is closing and maybe you got a good recording or maybe you didn't, or maybe you just would like to play that one scene one more time? Maybe there's a way you can distribute it across this place. Maybe there's a naturalistic way to use this space. Or maybe it's something else. Maybe it's just a monologue or a moment. Or maybe it's just, again, the sound. Maybe it's dance. Maybe you are closing an art show and there's one piece you'd like to bring here and simply bring towards us in slow motion for 15 minutes. You get to come here and just propose your thing, do what you want to do. So it doesn't have to come through a portal, but it can too. It can do what you want it to do. Anyway, that's an invitation. A standing one, and it's new. What would you do at the Mystery Font 42? So now, I think I'll share something that I would do. Strangely enough, you will not believe this, but in just a moment, we're gonna take another just little dip into perusing the falsehood, and I think then I'll be back with one more wading into the idea, the bandwidth of ideas that I call radio science brain. First of all, falsehood does produce a hokum. A hokum that chokes, a hokum that becomes part of an atmosphere we just forget about. But just like our fabric has been degraded, just like we have been through trauma, and that trauma, that abuse, this abusive relationship we're in with Donald Trump is producing brain damage. That plays into our ability to recover, that plays into our ability to recognize being hoodwinked, it plays into our ability to find the executive function, to find safe ways to talk about this with people, with one another, especially across the reality distortion fields and lies. If people don't know that they're hoodwinked and their loved ones really want people to be safe from the horrors of white supremacist exploitation, well, these are life and death issues. And I think a lot of people under the banner of Christian nationalism may not really realize just exactly what that stuff is, where it comes from and who is working with that, and for what end. But it is dark exploitation. It is neo-Nazi, patriarchal terrorist exploitation. And DARVO, D-A-R-V-O, deny, attack, and reverse victim and offender. If you are finding yourself feeling gaslit, if you are dealing with someone where you feel like, I think they have donned the falsehood, I think maybe I'm talking to the falsehood themselves almost, goodness gracious, whip up that DARVO card. Are you experiencing someone using DARVO? Deny, attack, reverse victim and offender. Deny, attack, reverse victim and offender. Who is the falsehood?
I made a speech. I looked out. The field was, it looked like 1.5 million people. They showed a field where there were practically nobody standing there.
The new White House press secretary, Sean Spicer, gave his first press briefing. He was also highly critical of some media organisations of the way he felt they had misrepresented the number of people who'd attended Friday's inauguration ceremony.
No one had numbers because the National Park Service, which controls the National Mall, does not put any out. This was the largest audience to ever witness an inauguration, period, both in person and around the globe.
It does not excuse, and you did not answer the question.
I did answer your question.
No, you did not. You did not answer the question of why the president asked the White House press secretary to come out in front of the podium for the first time and utter a falsehood. Why did he do that? It undermines the credibility of the entire White House press office on day one.
Don't be so overly dramatic about it, Chuck. You're saying it's a falsehood, and Sean Spicer, our press secretary, gave alternative facts to that.
largest ever. This was the largest audience to ever witness an inauguration, period, both in person and around the globe.
In front of that podium to utter a provable falsehood.
You see, Darvo has benefit. I think that it becomes pretty clear that we're dealing with Darvo, with Mr. Trump. It may be his whole thing, really. He sees something that he doesn't have. He denies that is the world, and takes what he has already declassified as now his. It is incumbent upon us to recognize someone grabbing the Sudeten land and saying, "Appease me, Seymour." We must apprehend the falsehood. And we must be nimble, and to do that we must be hopeful and indeed playful. We must be sprightly, we must be imaginative, we must be curious, we must be scholarly lions. Yes. Yes, yes, Liepen Liebens we must. Scholarly lions I trust, and not scholarly lions or bust. We are actually sustainable. It happens. Escape velocitous thrust. All right. This is Radio Science Brain. Now, what the? Do we have the? Oh. This is the science craving, imagine it waving. Not in vain, abdicate, hate, regain, love's occasion, regain the amazing agency of change. Agent, please be the mage that knows love is the main page. Imagination, a mind made this contagious aim. Imagination, a mind made this game cantankerous and contagious. Thus come came to play. The mind may be gained today. Radio science brain, I made this with aim. We are the renovation of love's imagination, be named as the ache. Come came to play today. The mind made this able aim. Radio science brain, I made this contagious, courageous play. Imagination aid, mind made. Radio science brain, I may be game to play. Imagination aid, mind may be game to play today. Imagination aid, mind may be game to play. Imagination aid, mind may be game. This is the curious emolument of honest trust, the colossal love of love. We trust and combust. Imagination aim, mind made. This game is gate. Imagination aim. Radio science brain, pretend that kindness is a page we turn with steps and age. Radio science brain, mind gave, mind give, the love the mindless live. Imagination may contain. Radio science brain. Imagination aim. Imagination aim. Imagination aim. The mind made this game. We are the renovation. Imagination. The mind made this all activation. Occasion its own parade. We are the mindness made this a love lift, a game, and deactivation aid. This is a game of music. Is it used and it's useful, then use it. Mind may this able nature make it sane. Radio science brain, are you listening to your brain? Keep the Darvo card handy, you'll encounter falsehood and its manual against the absolutely toxically manly, so-called manly. You know the macho, you know the mach. Show, enough of that slow, no more bro. Darvo will be used by the stalkers, though. Be ready for the card in your pocket. Hold it aloft in front of those glowing tanning circles round the false sides. Open eyes closed, it's the falsehood around us, using Darvo to blind us. We are the sentient frame, the reality distortion field love contains. Radio science brain, you are the mind dismayed with aim and activation. You can take it and contain. Radio science brain. You are the renovation of imagination. What if we can do anything? What if we truly can choose the world we want?